What's going on, guys? It's Ricky with Learn, Plan, Profit. So this is going to be, or today's Tuesday, right? So looks like we're experiencing a slight pullback for DGAS. Let's check this out. Ooh, Tesla had another pullback. Good morning, good morning. How's everyone doing today? If you're joining us live, good morning to you. So we can see that drip is pushing up today. That's a change. So it's trading in between the middle view up and top view up. This might be something that we might want to keep a close eye out for. Looking at the 90-day analysis, it's still trending down. Look at the 180-day analysis, it's still trending down, but it's showing slight potential for recovery, which is something that it's really struggled with as it's been descending within like the past couple of days. So that's pretty attractive, when it comes down to that. Looking at it a little bit closer, let's go ahead and set an alert for a break above 990. We can go from there. Boom. All right, how's everyone doing today? Good morning. All right, so I'm just going to be breaking down a couple stocks that I see value in. And okay, so someone's saying that I'm a little quiet. All right, I tried to see if I could do it without headphones, so I'm a little soft-spoken today, I guess. Like Ricky, say it with your chest. Okay. All right, MTCH just went above 47.31. All right, test. Can you guys hear me okay? Test. All right, you guys should be. That's actually going to be pretty loud. Let me know if you guys could hear me any better, and kind of go from there. So let's go ahead and start breaking these things down. What I want to see also is if there's a break of pattern and if it drops below like 970 to see if we could catch it like when it pulls back and then continues to trend up. But based on what I'm seeing right now, it's doing a really good job for drip itself to hold above the EMA and the top view up, which is something that we want to see, something that we have not seen within the past week for drip itself. So that's definitely a good sign. I don't know if you guys were able to see, I was trying to keep you guys up to date with the overall pattern of natural gas under the trade ideas. This is an area where I can post like kind of just follow-ups and stuff like that for what it is that I'm looking at. And obviously I took a small position on DGAS and being up on DGAS, I was talking about the overall pattern that DGAS had to offer. So right now I'm actually not up very much. I was up like almost $400 when it peaked out, and I was up actually like $500 or $600 when it showed that it was up at like 28.35 or something like that. So right now I'm up overall on my position like $80, and it's continuing to sell off. It's now trading in between the middle VWAP and the bottom VWAP, and you can definitely see why. Right now with /NG, like looking at this overall analysis, looking at the 180-day analysis, we can see that we got somewhat of almost a bounce on that SMA line. Do you guys see this? And it's trying to push back up again. Overall resistance was at around that 2.75, and it looks like it's pushing up pretty aggressively. So let me go ahead and follow up with it. It looks like it is trying to make new highs. There it goes, pushing again. So let me get a little bit closer. Yep, it's definitely, this thing is now trading in between the middle view up and top view up. And if you guys have ever traded anything or swing traded anything, especially when it comes down to ETFs, so what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to move this on over here just so I can get you guys to join me while I'm breaking these things down. But if you guys have ever been able to, do a breakdown or took a position on a ETF and look at the overall future, something like gold or natural gas or something like that. Natural gas did have a pullback during aftermarket hours. There's no question about that. We can simply see where it closed at and the sell-off that it had. And if the market would have opened here, then we would have seen a push for DGAS, right, which is the inverse ETF, to have been above even this price point, right? This is when the market was opening, but it was already pulling back at this price point, so around 2.35. So in reality, like based on where it closed at to where it could potentially have opened at, it could have been 4% plus, which would have been, obviously very nice. Would have been about like $800 profit. But that's the thing that's very important to know about these ETFs, is that they do trade during these futures. Although they might be pulling back during aftermarket hours or extended hours, if they don't end up opening at that specific price point, then it doesn't mean anything, right? So like I was following up with natural gas, and can you guys hear me okay? Everything's good on my side. Everything's green on my side. It must be something on your side. Okay. Okay, so, all right, that's weird. But that's just something we've talked about it before. So just make sure that when you take a position and a future is actively trending up or actively trending down, the same thing, vice versa. Because if you were into UGAS and you're like, oh man, it's pulling back during aftermarket hours, like if you were in UGAS and you're like, oh man, /NG is pulling back aftermarket hours, a very common pattern is that it does sell off during extended hours, but then it tends to recover as it comes closer to market open. And fortunately for those that ended up being in UGAS, that end up being able to open up green. Does that make sense? Just because although they would have ended up opening up red, if the market would have opened here, but it didn't, it opened all the way over here, right, as the market opens at whatever time zone you are over there. But that is just something that I want to make sure that you guys take into consideration, that if you see something trending down after market hours or extended hours, and then you guys take a position just solely based on that, just know that it does have time to recover. And if it does end up recovering before the actual market opens, then that's something that isn't going to really work in your favor. So as of now, I'm just going to be following up with natural gas. We're going to do a 5-day, 5-minute. We can see that it is somewhat at a resistance. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set an alert for when it starts to pull back. I'm not going to focus too much of my attention onto this. I'm just going to set a break for below 2.741. Perfect. And also just an alert if it continues to trend up pretty aggressively. That's definitely something that I want to follow up with. So it's a feature. So we go here. Boom, boom. Boom. Alrighty. Alright. CC, let's follow up with that. CC just went up above 555. AKS just went above 466. Wow, there's a lot of stocks that are trending up. This thing looks a little bit more on the overextended side. What the heck? Drip just pulled back below 970. That's not good. But do you guys see this margin from 46 to about 52? This looks a little bit more on the overbought side in my honest opinion. But it was a good follow-up. It looks like it broke the resistance. I think we were following up with this one when it was around $48. Let's follow up with AKS. AKS starting to show more of a cup and handle pattern. That's pretty attractive. Overall support at around that, what is that, $430, $440 price point. So kind of like it did before, and then potential signs for a recovery to around $5. Watch out for the earnings report that it does have coming up. I personally do not like holding during earnings, and it's just because of the volatility, and I have a video in the course actually elaborating more on that. Guys, look at ticker symbol X today. Upward staircase pattern. How many times have we talked about this one because of the consistent ascending uptrend pattern that it has to offer? Yesterday it was at lows of 35. Today it's above 36. And I think that it could hit highs of $36.50 to about $37 based on previous patterns. So congrats to those that were able to hold and make some money off of that. So right now we still don't have any full-on confirmation for the overall just gold-based futures and ETFs. So right now JDST is still actively trending down. It is doing a lot of consolidation, so it's not even actively trending down anymore. It's just holding below the middle, below the EMA. So right now there's just a lot of consolidation. It continues to get rejected, as we see that it was trying to push up and then gets rejected. The same thing happened with the overall futures for, again, gold as well. It was potentially selling off, and then it recovers right as the market opens, which is just something that happens. And it's a time factor and a confirmation factor. So right now we do see on this 180-day 4-hour chart, the candle's now trending below the EMA, right? So that's good. So we want to make sure that as this pushes up, that it gets rejected by this EMA indicator and then continues to trend down. And if it does do that, then that's in favor of JDST. If we see that it continues to push up and then it's on its way to make new highs, then that's in favor of JNUG. Again, be familiar with the bull and bear ETFs. But Yeah, I mean, that's really just it. We can see that there's an obvious bull flag pattern here with the overall resistance around 1550, and it's definitely showing signs of it being overbought and almost overextended, right? It's showing signs of almost a peak formation and then why it could potentially sell off. There's a lot of potential that we do see when it comes down to the overall pattern for JDST and how much margin it does have to offer from 50 all the way up to 55. But again, that's what's so important to have an understanding of, like, when it's actively turning up and when it's not. So let's make sure that we wait on for that full on confirmation, and I have my alerts set on that already. So looking at drip just got rejected. We're at a break even for the day. So there we go, just bounce out around the SMA. I'd be a little iffy about this because I think that it could still get rejected. I thought today was going to be the day where it's going to start to reverse. It might, but EMA line is still pointing down. It might still be acting as a resistance. So kind of just look out for that. As it was acting as a previous support, it could be acting as a resistance. So just make sure that you take that into consideration. Same thing with this. DGAS right now is trying to trend up. Again, it's still being rejected by this EMA, and I want to follow up with this one when it starts to break above the middle VWAP. So let's do that. There it goes, drip. APA definitely did have a sell-off. If wait, was it APA? I'm not too sure. Let me double check. No, it wasn't APA. So APA is still actively turning up, holding above $40. A very consistent uptrend pattern. Is not very aggressive. I think it's very easy to understand the pattern that APA has to offer and how it's continuously trending up. Margin from 40 to 46, a little bit under 15% potential for profit. If you understand the ascending uptrend pattern and you can easily identify when there's a break-up pattern, then I think it's very easy for you to be able to capitalize on a pattern something similar to APA itself. So yeah, we have Gush again. There we go. IO again, still IO. Continuously like 1 to 2% almost every single day, actively trending up. So that's pretty solid. And then Tesla again getting rejected, just like we called it out. So I think that's it. That's all that was in our watch list. So that is trending up. JNUG is consolidating. No full on confirmation just yet. Same thing as JNUG here. DGAS is again trying to confirm that uptrend, but again, no confirmation just yet. Still holding below the middle VWAP. We got drip trying to consolidate and reverse, but no confirmation yet. APA continuous uptrend pattern. Gush kind of peaking out. It's not growing as aggressively as it was before, so that's the inverse of drip. Silver/CL, no confirmation just yet for JDST, but a good one to follow up with. And then IO showing signs of an uptrend pattern. Not the most aggressive growth, but very consistent. Let's start breaking stocks down for you guys. So again, make sure that they're actively uptrending stocks. And then this is just for those that want to start breaking down some stocks. If you guys want to ask a couple questions, I'm going to invest or dedicate a little bit of time after we do some technical analysis, and I'll start answering some questions. So ticker symbol Z. Thank you again, Blake. Wow, I like this one. Pretty solid ascending uptrend pattern. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to set an alert for when it starts to break above the EMA. There's no confirmation just yet. I think that's a great call out that you have. It's trying to bounce at the SMA. It's still not above the EMA, so it's still pointing down, right? So there's no question that, if it's been rejected by the EMA before, so we want to make sure that we don't get rejected again by it as well. And the MACD did. It did have a pretty solid sell-off, so just something that you want to take into consideration of waiting for the full-on confirmation. So good call out, Blake. Thank you again. So this one can be one that we could follow up with. Also, if it breaks below $48, potentially something that we want to follow up with as well. Okay. All right. I actually don't like this pattern too much. This looks like this was part of a pump and dump. It had no volume. So again, how do I know when something experiences like a pump and dump? There's a video in the course about it that talks about it on how you can identify like these distinct differences. There's no volume here. You can see a sudden rush and push, of the price itself. Huge volume, and then ever since then it's been descending, right, showing signs of a downward pattern. Volume has slowly been dying out, especially leading up to its earnings. This is one that I would completely stay away from, in my honest opinion. Too much manipulation and very inconsistent, too volatile. So that's one that I would stay away from. So KNX, we did quite a bit of breakdowns yesterday, so thank you guys again for that. Usually Mondays are going to be our biggest breakdowns anyways. So as of right now, we probably won't have as many breakdowns just because we've done enough as of yesterday. So please be sure that you're still picky with what it is that you do choose to break down. So very quick, we could see that SMA line was showing signs of an uptrend pattern. Overall candles were holding above the SMA and the EMA. We got a full-on rejection. I believe this was based on the pattern of the overall market conditions. Had a sell-off, getting rejected by the EMA. It's now pushing up above the EMA. I do think that it has potential for potential recovery from the EMA to the SMA. So as long as you understand that pattern, and that margin, as long as you understand that descending pattern and that it doesn't have to all the way fully recover, and you have a very good understanding of how it's slowly recovering, I don't see this to be a bad pick as it is trending up above the EMA, but it might get rejected by the SMA, which might act as a resistance. So just something to look out for. Again, Tyler, we don't break down stocks that are just called out with the ticker symbol. You have to do the full-on breakdown. So MCRN. I like this one. So ascending uptrend pattern, SMA has previously acted as a support before. Do you see that it usually drops below the SMA line and then it pushes up? Same thing that happened here. It didn't really happen this time. It did drop a little bit below it, but then it's showing signs of an uptrend pattern. So you might want to become familiar on when it does trend up. What does it usually do? Does the volume pick up? Does it hold pretty well above the EMA? Does it ever pull back and have that pullback confirmation? So you can use these as references. So right now there is no question that it's definitely pushing up. Based on the last time that it pushed up very aggressively, and there wasn't ever really a solid pullback. So because of that, I mean, we're definitely showing signs of an uptrend, right? There's no question about that. I would keep a very close eye for the EMA. Use that as a break of pattern to have an understanding. If the full-on candles start to hold and trend below the EMA, then you could use it as an understanding that, hey, this thing's a little bit on the, or it has broken its pattern. So as of now, it's definitely trending up. I see value in that specific pattern itself. But based on the volume that I kind of see, yeah, it should be pretty low. So that's one thing that I don't find very attractive about it, is that it has pretty low volume. It has a pretty consistent descending pattern. If you want to wait a day or two and see if there's a pullback confirmation or if it continues to rally, I definitely would not be against that. Yeah, it definitely does have a pretty solid margin to be able to make money on, right? A little bit over 10%. So good luck on that trade if you choose to take a position. Okay. So we see a support here at around $14, resistance here at around 17 to 18. It's looking more on the overbought side, so I wouldn't find this to be, the best deal. I can see that it is holding above the EMA and the SMA, so it definitely does have margin to continue to trend up. You just have to ask yourself if that margin is worth it. So if you understand that ascending uptrend pattern and that it's holding above the SMA, and you understand certain resistance levels based on previous patterns, just again, understand the margins, understand how it's trending and the margin of profit that it has left to cover. So you have to understand where it's peaked out at before, which then it could potentially peak out, as it's trending up, and see if that margin is worth it. So from like $16 to 17, not a bad margin. From 17 to 18, not a bad margin. So just make sure you understand the ascending uptrend pattern, how it's trading. If you feel comfortable and you want to take a position, then great, that's up to you. If you don't, then you definitely don't have to. So all right. Okay, so this one's definitely showing signs of an uptrend pattern. I would watch out for the, these are all pretty much the same thing, guys. So again, ascending uptrend pattern, it's pulling back, trending up now. Watch out for the SMA as a resistance. So these are good stocks that are trending up, and I appreciate that. Let's see. So yeah, there's nothing else that I mean, as long as you understand the ascending uptrend pattern and how it's currently trading, again, just watch out for the candles, and if they begin to pull back, then you can be on high alert. But until then, they're actively trending up. They are becoming a little bit more on the overbought side as they approach this SMA. So just make sure that you understand that. If you want to wait till they break above the SMA, then so be it. Just make sure that your plan, visits or talks about that. So ERX showing signs of an uptrend pattern. This one definitely looks like it is a little bit more on the overbought side, showing more of a peak formation with a potential resistance at around $34 to $35. I would set an alert to see if there's a pullback confirmation as it's done that before, or if it actually begins to reverse and starts to sell off. So yeah, thank you for that. Your voice is making me thirsty. What the heck? Yeah, I probably need to drink some water. Solid uptrend pattern here. Watch out for this potential resistance here at the SMA indicator. Earnings is way too close in my honest opinion. I would watch out for this. This is something that I would look out for. I would kind of say, you know, be on high alert as of now. Let's see. Ticker symbol CY. Ticker symbol CY showing signs of a consistent uptrend pattern. It did have a pullback confirmation as of yesterday, and one thing that you guys can look to get a better understanding of that ascending uptrend pattern is looking a little bit closer. So no, that's a little bit too close on this 90-day analysis. You can see this ascending uptrend pattern on how it usually trades. We could see that it could still use a little bit more time with this SMA indicator, as it might push up and then pull back, and then kind of like it's done before. Do you see this? How it's like pushed up and then pulls back and then it bounces again, and then it really starts to actively trend up. So just know that it does react pretty well to this SMA indicator, even within this time frame of this 90-day time frame. So just use whatever indicator you think can, you know, relies or works pretty well with it. But overall, I do see that ascending uptrend pattern. I do see the MACD pulling back a little bit. So that's why I would kind of be like, oh, maybe wait for a little bit more for a sell-off or a more solid bounce on the SMA. But yeah, definitely do see value in this one and the ascending uptrend pattern that it does have to offer. It's been pretty consistent within the past couple of months. So good call out on that. Let's see where we're at. All right, DGAS starting to pick back up. We're back at, okay, so we're back above the EMA. That's definitely something that we wanted to see. I'm up $64, yay. 72, so that's funny. Drip pulled back, bouncing here. So again, it's getting rejected by this EMA. So this is definitely something that we want to look out for. Something that Drip has been struggling very well with, or has been struggling a lot with, has been the middle VWAP and breaking above that and trading between the middle VWAP and top VWAP. So that's something that I would like to see for there to be a break of pattern. Ticker symbol X. Wow, ticker symbol X is definitely pushing up. We just hit highs of 36.50. So I thought that we were going to hit it, but not this quick. So that's a pretty solid push. Congrats to all those that were able to take that position. And then right now for JNUG definitely did push up, so it's green on the day, so that means JDST is pulling back. And IO is still increasing like a snail. All right, let's do about 3 more breakdowns, and then we'll go from there. Again, let's make sure that if you don't really need help with your breakdown, then we should not call it out as of now. Let's just make sure on those that need a little bit more help with their breakdown, that we focus on those. Wow, solid trade. Nice to hear that. It's not, and that question doesn't really make sense. So like, when you say wait for the confirmation, how many days would you say it is? You have to understand the pattern, and for there to either be a pullback confirmation, meaning that like when something is what's it called? Like something for like DGAS, let's say. Or something for like Drip. Like, what do you mean by confirmation? It's going to be different for every single stock, and that's why it's like, you know, nothing is universal. But as long as you understand the pattern, you should be good on that. So right now the EMA is pointing down, so one thing that I would like to look out for is for the EMA line to start pointing up, the candles to start holding above this, and then for them to push up, pull back, and bounce on the EMA line and start confirming that uptrend pattern. That could be something that you might want to look into and understand patterns a little bit more and what can signal a confirmation. Again, that is all covered in the course, and I go into detail about what it is that I look for, the patterns that I like to trade. So please use that as a reference to get a better understanding of what a confirmation is, because you know you need to have an understanding of what a confirmation is to enter a position, and if you don't, maybe that's what's been you know, holding you back from getting in at a good price point. So. Yeah, great call out. So X definitely just did break above that price point. So ticker symbol M. So M is showing signs. I think we broke this one down yesterday. So it's showing signs of an uptrend pattern. Again, resistance here definitely is confirming this bounce. So the margin from here to around $31, about 7.54%. Maybe something to take into consideration. The MACD indicator is starting to point back up. Not a bad trade. So this would definitely be something that we could follow up with. I'll set an alert just so I can keep the group up to date. Thank you again for the friendly reminder. But we did break this one down yesterday, and I believe in my I'm not too sure if this was in the Sunday Stock Talk. So New McLaren 570 SGT just went for sale. Oh, sweet, nice. I don't want to buy another one though. Okay, rig. So explain to me. So for all those that are tuning in live right now, I want to do like a little like Q&A, right? Why would I not want to invest in rig right now? Understanding margins and understanding how this thing is currently trading, you might be like, well, Ricky, what the heck? Like, this thing is actively trending up. Why would you not want to invest in this one as of now? If you guys can type it in, that would be great. Overbought, overextended, is way overextended and is near its peak. Exactly. And although this is when it comes down to, so this is why you have to have a list of criteria. So yes, the stock is actively trending up. Great, that meets that criteria. Is this pattern consistent? Yes, it meets that criteria. Do you understand the pattern? Yes, it meets that criteria. Is the stock, does the opportunity cost or the margin of profit worth it? Is the risk/reward worth it? No, in my opinion, right? If it pulls back at around 1150 and pushes up, it offers about 4.82%, but is the risk/reward ratio worth it? The golden ratio, something that we cover in the course that's so important, is the opportunity cost. Does the potential for profit exceed the potential for loss? No. And although it is very consistent and it can push up, if you do end up taking a position, 100% I understand, but the risk continues to get higher as the stock continues to become more overbought. There's no question that this thing can shoot up to $13, but the risk for it to actually do that is much higher. So as long as you understand that, great call out. It met almost all the criteria. It's just a little bit more on the overbought side. It's not a good deal, right? And you always want to make sure that you're trying to find the best deals. So thank you again. MACD is definitely turning as well. So MACD and then the RSI. I like that. Thank you guys. Okay, that's good. Lesson learned, right? Let's see. All right. Okay, so so right now I'm live, so you can't pause me, I don't think. If you can pause me, that I'm still going to continue to speak, but the video will re-upload and then you could re-watch it later. So thank you for that question. Gee willikers, that was loud. What was that? Z. So Z is pushing up. This is the Zillow group. Pretty solid pattern on it holding above the SMA. I like that. Now let's follow up with this and see if we could actually start making new highs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set an alert at around this price point. I think it's going to take some time for it to actually be able to get to this price point as it's pushing up right now. But again, as it pushes up more, I think there'll be some pullback confirmations. That's a pretty consistent pattern for Zillow. So again, just a nice friendly reminder. And that's a pretty good call out, right? So SPSIOP versus Gush. So I hope you guys know that that's not a future, right? Some people like to use it as a reference for Gush and Drip because there's a more direct correlation. I 100% understand and agree that there is a better correlation with SPSIOP to Gush and Drip. But the correlation is not the important part. It's being able to see the futures that can trade after market hours and see how those patterns are trading. So that's what's much more important to me. So I'm going to do 2 more breakdowns, and then we are done for the breakdowns, and then I'll start answering some questions. And for those that don't want to stay tuned for the questions, definitely don't have to. Veer, thank you again for the call out, and I do see that you just put it up there. Why would this not be the best buy right now? Again, it's the same thing as the other ticker that we just talked about. I think it was RIP, right? Or what was that ticker? RIG. Way on the overbought side. Not a good deal. It is actively trending up, but it also looks way overextended. Also, the volume is what actually acted as a catalyst to drive the price up before, and then it pushed the price down. So that just gives me a signal or an indication that the volume is probably pretty low. Volume is actually not as low as I thought it would be, but just for my taste, just wouldn't be the best. We can see that it did a pretty nice job bouncing at the SMA line. Let's do the 4-day-4 hour. Okay, boom. Overall resistance. I definitely do see a really common resistance at $48. Yes, it is pushing above 48, but will it hold, right? Is it worth like a swing trade or a day trade? Not in my opinion. I think that this thing is going to start pulling back down, and that's why I'm going to set an alert here when it breaks below $46. So, yep, not as much margin of profit. So, what's going on, Mark? What's up? What's up? Oh, Mark, I didn't even know that this was you. I think you changed your thumbnail. You always have that picture of, I think it's you in the, I think that might be in Discord. I get so far. What's going on, David? If you guys could have like your same cover picture and stuff like that, then what you do in Discord, that could make it pretty easy for me to distinguish who it is. Let's do this one. So the last one, W day. Okay. So let's check the volume intraday. That's something, not very high volume. Okay, so it is pretty volatile, and what I mean by that is that it kind of does scatter all over the place, although sometimes it does bounce around the EMA. It doesn't always bounce exactly, so something that we want to take into consideration, that it can be a little volatile. It is pretty consistent though. When it gets trending down below the EMA, it pulls back, and then when it breaks above the EMA, pushes up, pulls back, pushes up, pulls back, and showing signs of an uptrend pattern. It just recently broke above $130, and it's trying to make new highs, right? A lot of consolidation going on. So as long as we can continue to hold above, I would see a better buy to be closer to the SMA and the EMA, closer to like, this price point right here. And it does have a pretty decent amount of margin to be able to, capitalize on, as long as it continues this ascending uptrend pattern. So just make sure that you understand this SMA line and this EMA line and the overall ascending uptrend pattern that it has to offer, just in case that there's a pullback that you can quickly cut losses or cover profits, and then you can move on from there. But yep, so that is correct. I did see that AGEN did have a pretty decent sell-off, and it didn't get that full-on confirmation in that break above the EMA. So it did get that first push up, but again, that pullback confirmation or more than just one day, right? And that's what's very important to wait out for that. So we could also see looking a little bit more on the 90-day 1-hour chart, we could see why it potentially got rejected. Looking a little bit closer, we could see that the overall SMA line could have acted as a resistance on this 90-day 1-hour chart, which could have acted for this like resistance and this continuous bear pattern. And then maybe looking a little bit closer, is there anything that can signal why it had a sell-off? What the? Okay. I'm sorry about that. Looks like I ran out of memory. I did too many technical analysis for you guys. Let me kind of get this going. So let me start answering some questions. So thank you again, Don, for calling that out. Now let me start breaking down and start answering some questions, and then we can go from there. If any of you guys have any questions about kind of like just your trades or anything like that, or just some questions about like the overall market or something like that, feel free to let me know. I'd be more than happy to answer them right now. Okay, I find myself having a real issue removing emotions. After you moved from paper trading to real money, how long did it take you to calm down your nerves, or did you find any strategies that helped you? Okay, so it's something that you're going to play with or mess around. It's never going to be like, it's not like, okay, now I'm a robot and I have no emotions or anything like that. One thing that, it's the dollar value that you have invested. So I don't know how much it is that you have invested, but if you made the transition from simulation trading to trading with real money, I'm guessing you're still using TD Ameritrade and you're probably over $1,000 to $3,000. Maybe that's too much money invested for you at the current moment. Don't be afraid to take a step back, start with, again, $100, $500, and prove to yourself using Robinhood that, or TD Ameritrade with the free trades that you can grow your account. And using that concept of taking that dollar value, because it's the dollar value that's bringing all these emotions into play, right? Because if you had $1 invested and you took a 10% loss, you'd be like, I don't really care about it because the dollar value has real no correlation. So make sure that the dollar value that you're investing does not hold you back from either holding a pattern that you see value in that can continue to trend up, or when something is like definitely selling off, that, you know, because you have so much invested that you're like, no, I'm just going to continue to average down. I'm just going to continue to average down. That you could be quick with like, okay, it's pulling back. If there's a break of pattern, the dollar value really doesn't matter to me. I can quickly cut losses. So make sure that the dollar value that you have invested does not overwhelm you. Easiest way that I can put it. So great question. Okay, so that's Adam. You're like, hey Ricky, I see that you talk about IO and was wondering why you're so interested in IO. It has very low volume. Why is it different than any other stocks? I talk about this one on a every other day basis or everyday basis because a lot of our members are actively, you know, working and have full-time jobs and are just looking for something that can offer consistent growth. And because of the continuous uptrend pattern that IO has to offer, although the volume is pretty low, it's very consistent. There's no question about that. And because of that, I find that to be pretty attractive. So that's why. Majority of the stocks that I've watched that are trading up do not. So all you want to make sure is if you're watching a stock and it doesn't actually pull back and get that overall confirmation, there's still a break of resistance. So if the stock does not pull back and it just continues to make new highs, then note that pattern, understand that pattern, and set an alert for highs of day or for when it breaks, you know, and starts making new highs. And you know, we can trade based off of that. But you can't tell me that intraday it's not trading in between the middle VWAP and bottom VWAP. And if you see that pattern, as long as it's trading up on the 180-day chart, that's great. But then when looking at it intraday, it should be trading in between the middle VWAP and bottom VWAP. I've never seen a stock that trades for a number of days straight up, all green candles. I've never seen anything like that. So just know that even if it does show consistent green candles on the 180-day chart, there are going to be pullbacks intraday, and that could be where the middle VWAP is at. So as long as you understand that ascending uptrend pattern and how to scalp in between the middle VWAP and top VWAP, then you should be good. How do you know when a stock is hyperextended and if it's even... It's, first of all, Christian, the RSI indicator. It shows you that it's a little bit overextended, and also being able to understand support and resistance levels based on the technical standpoint of being able to see, hey, what was that breakdown that we did for RIG? You saw me do the breakdown. That's why we do these live. So you saw me do the breakdown. You saw me identify the support and resistance from $10 to I think $15, and we saw that it was super close to $15. That margin of profit, you have to ask yourself, look how much it's pushed up already. Is this a good deal? Don't think about the vocabulary like of the terms. We use these terms with trading of like overextended and blah, 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 blah. Forget about that. Keep it simple. Is it a good deal? Look at the patterns. Is it a good deal? Did it just start to trend up, and is it a good deal? No. Simple. Wow. But yes, we use these terms and they're more proper terms. Keep it simple. Is it a good deal? No. Then, you know, there's a form of like, you know, it's still actively trending up, and great, it offers that potential, but it's not a good deal. So you just need to make sure that if you do choose to take a position, that you understand that. What's the volume you like best? There is no volume that I like best. It's how the candles look, and if it looks like a healthy amount of volume that's very consistent. You could easily tell when a stock has low volume, and that's why one of the most important factors in my watch list, if you guys could see over here, is volume from top to bottom. That's how I have my watch list set up, because I want to make sure that whatever I invest in, you know, won't, what's it called, just like that I won't like manipulate the stock myself and then bring the price down myself with low volume. And I know if I take a position and I talk about it, other people are most likely going to end up following. It's just something that's going to happen, and I want to make sure. That's why when trading ETFs, that's not actually really a huge factor. Volume does play a role, but not a huge role like when it comes down to actual stocks. So yikes, drip is at 61, 961. Gutierrez is at 27.15. Man, that thing won't push up. How do you measure if a stock is high volume or low volume by relative volume? Again, you just have to become familiar with the overall patterns. Only on the 4-hour chart. Yeah, so I think using the reference of taking a step back, looking at that 180-day 4-hour pattern and seeing how, you know, the average volume is, and seeing if there's any form of manipulation or if there's very low volume, I think you could use that as a reference. Green gold. Do you see value? I personally don't see. I don't know what you mean by green gold. Yeah, I agree, Mohammed. Ricky, can you show us setting? What? I don't understand what you mean. Can I show you my alert settings on TOS? They're default settings. I don't have anything. I've showed you guys exactly how to set up my TOS. Everything that I have on my TOS is included in the course. So please review the course. Everything is absolutely everything else. If I don't talk about it, it's default. Like I don't have anything crazy for my VWAP. That's why I don't have any custom settings for that. I showed you guys exactly how I set mine up, how I link my like watch list with my charts. So when I click on it, it shows right away on my charts. I've showed you guys everything, how to scan for stocks, how to view your alerts, everything. So please use that as a reference. And shoot, I passed quite a bit of them. So how long does it take until you can use the money from a position on TD Ameritrade after you sell? So as if you have margin or leverage, right? Or no, margin. So what that means is it gives you that instant future. So you'll be under the PDT rule, but it's right away. So like if I have $5,000 and I take a $5,000 position and I sell, I'll have the 5,000, let's say I made 100, 5,100 available to trade right away. So yeah. So / has reverse, doesn't drip correlate. So / CL has reverse, doesn't drip correlate with / CL. I don't understand why it's still trending up. Again, Caleb, we've talked about that / CL is not an exact correlation to the overall pattern of gush and drip. Although even with / GC and JDST and JNAG are even more direct, sometimes we've seen / GC pull back and JDST pull down as well. So it's not always 100%, and that's why you could use it as a reference, but you don't only want to solely trade based on the correlation between those two, especially not with / CL. Do you only focus on horizontal and ascending, or ascending and horizontal on the 180-day or in the 1 minute too? Yeah, I mean, if something is actively trending up or there's a very horizontal pattern intraday, I've made videos about that in the course. I've showed you guys that I've scalped positions intraday. I think it was when I was trading like DGAS and UGAS maybe like a month or two ago, in between like the middle view. No, it was JDST. When it was approaching that resistance at $60 and I was originally swing trading it, I was like, forget that. It's not breaking above 60, and it continues to move and get rejected by $60, but pulls back about 3 to 4% almost every single day and then recovers. So because of that, I covered my position when it was at 60. It pulled back. I took a position, and then I scalped it for about 2 to 3 days, and I was able to capitalize, I think, a little bit over 10% within that period because I understood that pattern. So again, horizontal pattern and obviously ascending uptrend patterns intraday, so holding above the EMA is very attractive. Something that X was showing, which I don't think it's showing anymore. So great, good question. Are you using a percentage stop loss on DGAS? No, I'm focusing on patterns. So especially when I trade ETFs, I don't focus on percentage stop losses. I look at overall patterns and then I cut losses based on that. So obviously the risk that I take on because of that is a little bit greater, but because swing trading, I have to be a little bit more patient. I want to focus much less on percentage stop loss and more on overall how the pattern is, how the stock is trading. Can you slowly mention the ticker symbols of the inverse / matching ETFs? I have a list for you in the announcement section. Yikes. Hold up. Yeah, I have a list for you in the announcement section for the Learn Plan Profit course. So announcement section, you can go here and or is it under, it's under trade ideas, I apologize. You just have to scroll up. Yeah, nope. ETF list right here. So you can look through all these and you can do your breakdowns and stuff like that. My goodness, killing it. I like it. Oh shoot, you can't see my screen. ETF section, trade idea section. There's an ETF list. So February 22nd, 2018, and then I give a shout out to all these killers right here. Absolutely destroying it today. So amazing. You guys are, my goodness. All right. When trading intraday, any stock breaks below the the middle VWAP, my problem is that and that's a like I get the hesitation there. So he's saying like when there's a break above the middle VWAP, I just don't know if I'm getting in a little bit too late just because it's already gapped up so much. And I totally understand that. And usually when I wait for the break above like the middle VWAP and stuff like that, they're mainly for stocks that I am thinking about like swing trading and stuff like that. So I definitely do understand where that hesitation comes into play. But I also think it's very important for you to have like an understanding of how to become more familiar. So it's just something that you're going to have to like become more familiar with on when is it a good time to actually start trading up. So is it a good idea to break to like something like right now, like something like drip, for example, that's actively trending down on the 180-day chart, and let's say intraday it breaks above the middle VWAP. Although it did break above the middle VWAP, you do run the risk of getting in too early, right? Because it's still actively trending down, that it would not probably be the best potential either even day trade or swing trade because it's still trending down ultimately, right? But when something is actively trending up and then it starts to, it pulls back and then breaks above the middle VWAP, then you have the overall long pattern, right, for the 180-day 4-hour chart that's still actively trending up. So it makes sense on why this thing can continue to rally, and that overall position cannot be that much safer. So it's just something that you have to test out. Make sure that your dollar value is not very aggressive, as you're most likely going to be making mistakes. So yeah, that's just something that I definitely want to make sure that you guys do understand. Wow, DRN is up over 3.83% on the day. That's actually pretty surprising, as it's right now right around where that SMA line is at. I know I'm not sharing my screen, but let me share it. So I just saw someone call this one out. So it previously got rejected by the SMA. This might be a reversal confirmation. Just know the inverse ETF, if this thing ends up getting rejected, that there is a DRV ETF, which might potentially bounce, but it looks like we might just get, we might have a confirmation that it might start to sell off. It's been showing signs of a descending pattern. How do I know that? Making lower highs. All right, I'm going to answer 2 more questions. Let's make them some juicy questions. So can you set up hotkeys to switch scenes on OBS so you don't have to bring it up every single time when it switches scenes? Yeah, I mean, that can definitely be something, but again, I'll probably still forget. So yeah, it doesn't matter. Okay, so I did post it in the announcement section, but it was a little bit earlier. So it's January 20th. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, let's do that. Every time that you guys want to ask a question and you want to ask it, again, I'm trying to go through as many as I can. We need you back in Discord. What the heck? But just feel free to tag me when you guys want to ask me a question. So, do you think it's possible to make good trades, intraday or swing trades with? Yeah. So again, as long as you do your technical analysis ahead of time and that you can plan out your trades ahead of time, then yes, there's no question about that. It's just a little bit more preparation on your end and making sure that you set the proper alerts and stuff like that. So. If I see that the price is at a resistance, but there's still potential for it to go up, is it smart to cover 50% profits and then go back in when it starts to push up? I'm worried about the PD2 rule. So yes and no. So I mean, if you're under the PD2 rule, then that would be somewhat of an aggressive or very like risky approach by like covering some profits and then getting back in, and you're just using too many day trades. So what I would say is if you see that it's a little bit more on the overextended side, just ask yourself, how many times have you actually missed out on an opportunity, or do you feel much more fulfilled when you actually just cover profits early? So what I mean by that is when you just cover profits early, although it might be early and there's still more margin, is it better for you to be a little bit more consistent in that perspective? Let me throw myself under the bus in that. I tend to cover profits way too early, majority of the time, and I've missed out on a couple tens of thousands of, not tens of thousands of dollars, but maybe ultimately in my career of trading, yes, but really like a couple $1,000s, right, on certain positions. But I still feel very confident and I still feel very fulfilled with the overall positions and profits that I still make. So I still think it's better to be, conservative than to be higher risk. So don't overthink it, especially when getting started. I would focus much more on just covering profits. So again, I don't know how the middle VWAP, I just have it at default, so it just shows on the 1 day, 1 minute, and that's about it. I mean, it shows on even the extended, you just can't really see it, so you can still see the VWAPs here. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense. Boom! We just got natural gas pull back. There we go. There we go. We got D-gas pushing up. Boom. $376 from my position as of yesterday. And 224 on the day. Not bad, and we still have a lot of margin to cover. So that's exactly what we wanted to see. So with /NG, we're starting to see a slight pullback, and that's exactly what we wanted. Now, as we're getting closer to this 270, I need this thing to break below it. So again, if I see that it bounces there, if I see that it bounces at the SMA line, I'll cover profits on DES because I don't want to hold it if it continues to bounce there. But if I see it now get rejected by the EMA and then pushed below the SMA, time to make that money, right? So, yeah. All right. So, Paola Rivera, or Rivero. Hey, Ricky. I have almost, for the past 2 months, every week made a plan for myself that made it too difficult to accomplish the goal. At the beginning, I set a goal of 6%. That is 2% per trade. Is that too much? I would say as you're just getting started, that's a pretty steep goal, like because you're giving yourself a quota of per trade. And based on your understanding of, you're probably trying to think of like, well, I have 3 day trades within a 5 day period. I'm going to try to day trade 2% every single day. That's when it can become very difficult. But if you're like, okay, so I don't think 5 to 6% is a huge amount. But if you're just getting started, I would aim more for 3%. And it's just about getting the ball rolling. So what I would say, and instead of looking at it per trade, I would look at it on a per week basis. So again, that's why you should be picking 1 or 2 stocks that are actively trading up that offer and can accommodate that margin of profit. If I'm not mistaken, like DGAS, right? So DGAS is pushing up right now. That's great. Whoa, my goodness, that thing pushed up. So $400 so far. So it definitely pushed up. And yesterday, when I saw that it was at around $26, right? That's great. It wasn't trading above the middle VWAP, and then I saw it trading above the middle VWAP, and I was like, okay, that's a little bit more attractive. I'll wait for the break above 27, and I started adding more to my position. But I could have been like, okay, not even just looking at it intraday, but taking a step back, and I'm like, okay, well, it has a very consistent pattern. I did my technical analysis. I like the margin from $27 to $28. It offers about a 10% margin. I set up my plan, look for all the different things that I have to wait out for. Hey, maybe I should wait until it breaks above the EMA, so around $28. So then I can capitalize from $28 to $30. And then what I can do is I wait until I get that full on confirmation. And then when I do, I can take that position. And if the pattern is still relevant, then I can just continue to hold. And based on that experience, and you guys can share your experience. Based on the success rate that we've experienced, it's those that can successfully identify good swing trades, even for a short period of time, 1 or 2 day swing trades. But as long as they understand the pattern and they see the consistency, I would say 2 to 3 days would be ideal. The margin of profit that you can make can be easily 3 to 5%, and that's a lot of people's weekly goal. And that's huge. That's 100% huge. A lot of the like my $1,000 days, they're $1,000 days intraday, but my overall profit is actually a little bit more because I end up doing short-term swing trades. I don't day trade as much. Like if DGAS shoots up today and pushes up to about like $30, when it closes out, my day profits will be not be much less, about $143 less than my overall profits. And that's okay. I'm fine with like today I made, let's say $1,000 with my overall profit still showing that I made $1,140. The thing is, like, I focus much more on short-term swing trades because I know the patterns can be so much more consistent in that perspective. So that's what I would focus on more. Stop focusing so much on every single trade you have to hit a certain percentage, and just give yourself take a step back, look at the overall week and be like, hey, this week I would like to achieve 3%. These are a series of stocks that I might want to trade. I'm going to focus on the ones that are actively trading up and that, it's going to get me to that weekly goal. So, being a little bit more relaxed with the approach and not so aggressive per trade. I hope that makes sense. There's a couple alerts that went off. So C just broke above. So again, 45, they had a margin from 41 to 45. This is something that we called out when it was down here at 42. It was brought up by one of our members. There's another one that was SO. SO is definitely trending up, so Southern Co.com actively trending up. Okay, it does a really good job consolidating at around $44. That's the only thing that I'd kind of look out for. And volume isn't horrible, but it's not super aggressive. But yeah, that is it. Yep, I agree. And I really appreciate, like, all right, I'm gonna end it here. So I just wanted to, there's a lot of people that have a lot of suggestions for, like, like group channels and stuff like that, or like different, like, and I really do appreciate that. Like, I wanted to minimize the overall options of channels within the group. I feel simplicity is key, and I think if we focus more on overall quality, our overall group would do so much better. So like for someone to suggest, like, oh, we should focus on something of stocks that are actively trending down, that's still almost like it's a very unglorified way of still spoon feeding someone, because then it makes someone not actually, like, I want you guys to have to rely on this group. I love you guys, and I love that you guys want to, like, be a part of the group every single day, but my goal, like, as an actual, like, mentor, is for you guys to not have to rely on this group and have to join. You don't have to join us every single day. Like, I don't have to trade successfully. I don't need, right, to be a part of a group. I like to, because it helps me grow and it helps me understand more things as I continue to assist more people, right? And that's what I want from you guys as well. But I don't want people to rely on the group chat to make it more efficient. I want the group chat to be simple, easy to understand. It gets the ball rolling. You do your own work, and at a certain point, you'll understand that you don't necessarily need the group anymore, that you solely, and that's why I try to promote, like, a good environment, because I just want people to come back just because they want to, but not because they have to. For those that, like, sell alerts and stuff like that, that is like a type of system where you're going to continuously most likely need that service space or that service. And that's why I don't want to sell alerts, because then everyone's gonna, we just have a bunch of people that are being spoon-fed, right? I think it's much more attractive, right, to, like, just think about it like an actual job. If you're studying to be like an engineer and then you're an intern, right? I'm teaching you how to do it, but are you going to be an intern for the rest of your life? Are you going to have someone like hold your hand telling you what to do for the rest of your life? No, I mean, you'll always be learning new things, but at a certain point, you're going to be so self-sufficient and so independent that you can do this on your own. And that's my goal for each and every single one of you. So I hope that you guys understand. I hope that that's not something that discourages you, but I want you guys to know that I want you guys to not have to rely on this group. And then that you guys can end up helping other people that are part of our community because it's something that you want to do, not something that you have to. So yeah, that is pretty much it. So that is it. We are at that 1 hour mark exactly, right? Yeah, 1 hour and 5 seconds. So I want to thank you guys again so much for your time. I hope that, we did a couple good breakdowns. We talked about the stocks that were actively trading up, such as ticker symbol X. We talked about the consolidation between these gold-based ETFs right now. There's no reversal right now. DRIP is still trending down. I mean, it's not really trending down. It's just horizontal as of now. DGAS is trying to recover. It's at around $27.50 at the current price point. Gush is we're still not really trending up, but it's just holding right there. And then IO just broke below $28. And then we have APA, that's around $40.80. So DGAS being rejected by that 15 EMA. Let's check that out. I'm going to check it out. I know I'm not sharing my screen, so don't roast me. Okay, let's see, 1 day, 1 minute. Yep, definitely got rejected. I want to see if it could actually bounce. Do you see that, how that middle VWAP? I'm going to show you guys. Do you see how that middle VWAP is acting as a, what's it called? As a support. It's showing signs of a cup formation. It was previously acting as a resistance, so I think it could act as a support. Let's just go ahead and see if it could actually hold above that price point. So, but yep, I mean, that is pretty much it. So thank you guys again so much for your time. So /NG being rejected. I think that's, yeah, so /NG after it had this pretty solid sell-off, that's what I see. It's still trying to hold above the middle VWAP. So if you guys can see it intraday, it's trying to bounce there for /NG. I don't know if you guys can see it on like the right hand side, but you can see it had this sell-off. It's trying to bounce off the middle VWAP, and yeah, if it continues to recover, then that means that DGAS will most likely go down. So that's enough. So thank you guys again so much for your time. Hope you guys all have an amazing rest of your Tuesday. Made 1.8% on JNEG today, intraday. I like that, Joseph. Nice. It's all about keeping it consistent. Let's get that ball rolling. You guys are doing very well. Just trying to focus on that quality. Just don't overthink it. Just make sure that you have your list of criteria. You guys know everything it is that you guys have to do, right? You guys know that you guys should be planning out your trades. You guys know that the opportunity cost should be worth it, and you guys know that the stock should be actively trending up. You guys know those three simple things. So now, take a step back, look at the charts, ask yourself, if I were to invest $1, what would I invest in? What's the best deal right now with no emotions that are coming into play? And then I think, making that judgment based off of that, again, because all you're focusing on right now is percentage growth. Excuse me. So hope you guys all have an amazing day. I hope you guys can continue working hard, continue following your dreams, let your passion be what drives your success. And like always, guys, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Be sure to finish the course. Take it easy, team.